Okay, guys, this is chapter 7, which is called Analytical Trigonometry. Chapter 7-1 is all about the inverse sine, cosine, and tangent functions. We're going to talk really quickly about one-to-one functions. This is your chapter 7-1 notes, by the way, which you can find on Schoology. Remember what a one-to-one function is? We know what a function is, right? That for every input, you have exactly one output. However, if you had something like this, y is equal to x squared. If you did an xy chart for that, right? If you plugged in -1, you would get an answer of 1, right? If you plugged in 0, you'd get 0. If you plugged in 1, you'd also get the same answer of 1, okay? So that's kind of like what, this is not a function at all, right? This one here represents something that's not a one-to-one function. That would be like a y equals x squared kind of one, okay? So we're going to kind of talk about the sine graph and the cosine graph in terms of whether or not it's one-to-one, okay? So this is why we're kind of talking about this. I talk about inverses. I'm just trying to remind you of what inverses are. If you had an XY chart, the inverse of this function right here would be that you switch up the x's and the y's. I'm just kind of reminding you of this. Okay, not the most important thing, but I'm just reminding you from Algebra 2. You could draw the inverse of a graph. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remind you that when you're finding an inverse of a function, you would switch up the x and y, and then you would solve for y. And if you remember, the graph kind of reflects over the line y equals x. Don't worry about this. I'm just kind of like throwing it in there to put things in perspective of inverses, okay? Here's what I want to get to, okay? I'm scrolling through all of this. It's not the most important thing. If I had this graph here, okay, here's my graph that is not one-to-one, okay? Okay, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm going to just kind of jump right to this instead. An inverse function does not pass the a one-to-one function passes the horizontal line test, okay? As opposed to this, okay? Here's the graph y equals x squared, okay? It is not one-to-one, as we said, because for instance, when I plugged in -1, I got an answer of 1. When I plugged in +1, I also got an answer of 1. It doesn't pass the horizontal line test when it's not a one-to-one function, okay? So here's what I want to get to. I want to just jump to this page right here, page 20. Is the sine graph, which I'm showing you right here, is it one-to-one? It's not. It's clearly not one-to-one. It does not pass that that horizontal line test, okay? So here's the thing. If I started asking about an inverse of something, if I said to you something along the lines of, let me jump to something really quick. Hold on, and then I'll come back to it, I promise. If I said to you, okay, it's kind of like if I said to you, what is the sine inverse of 1? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. That is me saying to you, where is it on the unit circle, or where is it on the graph of sine where my y value is 1? Okay, it's kind of going backwards, right? And I kind of did refer to the fact that it's kind of like now your variable is the angle, okay? So when I say to you, what is the sine inverse of 1? I'm asking you, where is it that my y value is 1, okay? So here's your answer. Your answer that there is an infinite number of answers. Look, here's one answer right here. My y value is 1 at pi over 2. My y value is 1 at 5 pi over 2. My y value is 1 over here at -3 pi over 2. All right, so there's an infinite number of answers. So here's why I'm going backwards now. Ready? Here I'm going backwards, I'm going backwards, I'm going backwards, I'm going backwards. In order to just get one answer, okay, you need to restrict your domain, okay? And you're going to restrict your domain from -pi over 2 to +pi over 2. Therefore, when I ask you the question, what is the sine of 1, you have one and only one answer, and that answer is at pi over 2, okay? Okay, let's think of it in terms of the unit circle, okay? Let's think of negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. It's really the right side of the unit circle, okay? And if I said to you, where is it that my sine or my y coordinate is pi over 1, it's right here at pi over 2, okay? You know, if I said to you, if we talked about the unit circle, let's do this. Let's say we went around the unit circle once, okay? And I said to you, what is the sine of rad 2 over 2? Okay, and let's say it's only one revolution around the unit circle. Well, it's still not great. I'm sorry. What is the sine inverse of rad 2 over 2? Basically, I'm saying, where is it that my sine is rad 2 over 2? Where is my y coordinate rad 2 over 2? And the problem with this, if I went around the unit circle one revolution, there's two answers. Right here at pi over 4, and right over here at 3 pi over 4. So I don't want to have two answers. This is why I am restricting my domain, okay? I'm restricting it so that I only will have one answer. And again, that's, if you look at the graph, I chose between negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Well, actually, I didn't choose it. Some mathematician chose it. It's because during that interval of negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, it is actually 1-to-1. It does pass the horizontal line test. I will get only one answer for an inverse, okay? Hopefully you understand that, okay? So now, because I am restricting my domain to just between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, I get one and only one answer for the sine inverse of rad 2 over 2, and that answer is pi over 4, or 45 degrees, however you want to give the answer, okay? I'm sorry I'm skipping around so much, but that's kind of how it is. There is my restricted domain, okay? Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. So if I asked you for the sine inverse of 1, your answer is pi over 2, okay, because I'm restricting my domain. If I said, what is the sine inverse of negative pi over 2, well, this is where you would kind of look at your unit circle and say, I'm only looking from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. I'm only looking at the right side of the unit circle. And where is it that my y coordinate is negative 1/2? It would be right here, negative pi over 2, at negative pi over 6, okay? All right, so here's the thing, guys. Because think about it. This is your coordinates for at negative pi over 6. It's rad 3 over 2 comma negative 1/2. If you gave me an answer, instead of 11 pi over 6, I would say that's wrong, because that is not in that restricted domain. I need to have an answer that's in that restricted domain of negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. Okay? All right, moving on. If I wanted to do an approximate value of something like this, well, that's pretty easy, because I would just use my calculator, but I would have to round it 2 decimal places, okay? I think that might be all I want to do for now. I can actually really look quickly. If I pull up the 7-1 part 2 notes, hold on one sec. I'm just going to look at something really quick, because I kind of want to talk about cosine. It's taking a long time, sorry. I just downloaded this. I don't know what happened here. All right, listen, guys. Honestly, we're done with that. What I would say about it is that obviously, when you're thinking about the cosine, think of the cosine graph. Okay. If you think of the cosine graph, well, let's say this is 1 here. This is pi over 2, and this is pi. Okay. If we're talking about being 1-to-1, if this is negative 1 down here, I would start up here at 1, go down here, go down here, Okay, this is the part of the graph going from 0 to pi. So when I'm talking about cosine, I am restricting my domain from 0 to pi, okay? So think about that on the unit circle. That is the upper part of the unit circle. I can't remember if I gave you some of these cosine inverses or not, but that would be the top part of the unit circle. So in other words, if I said, what is the cosine inverse of, let's say, rad 2 over 2? You can only give me one answer, and that answer is pi over 4, okay? If I said, what is the cosine inverse of negative rad 2 over 2? You would give me one answer, and it would be 3 pi over 4, okay? All right, so good luck with the homework. Hopefully we will talk more about it on Tuesday in class. Thank you. Bye.